Hey guys, how's it going? It is Kyle here with another Diablo Immortal video. And in today's video, I want to talk about combat rating, on how it eventually becomes a worthless stat, and then how you can actually gain more power and more damage by not focusing on combat rating, but focusing on other things in the game after a certain point. Let's explain how combat rating works and what I mean by that. We're going to go to Hell 3 and then show just how strong I am in Hell 3 based on the combat rating, because I think the big thing to take away from this is that combat rating is not your power level. If you look at someone's combat rating, that doesn't necessarily mean they're strong, because you got to look at the other things. It's just combat rating is an arbitrary number by the game that determines how strong you are in relative to that content. So for example, in Hell 3, since I'm in a game mode with 2120 combat rating, then let's look at how strong I am comparatively to that. So I am 931 points higher. So that's increasing all the damage I deal by 21% and then reduces all the damage I take by 17%. But now let's look if I double that increase. So I go from like 931 points higher to like 1800 points higher, which would be me in Hell 2. So I go here and look at how big of a difference this changes. I was just at 21% more damage. But if we go back here, we'll see just how much more I actually gain. So now 1831 points higher. But look, increases all the damage I deal by 22%. So 900 more points of combat rating only gave me an increase of 1% damage. What that means is this is the cap. 22% damage increase is as high as you can go in combat rating, then it's a worthless stat. So what does that mean for you? It means that in the moments, Hell 3, Hell 4, when we're stuck in these paragons for a very long time and we're stuck at this particular difficulty, so Hell 4 would be 3250. Hell 5 is going to be 5025. In these moments when we're stuck at these difficulties but can't get to the next one, but we're far exceeding the others. So like, for example, this is 3250. But let's say you're 4200 combat rating. You're still too weak for Hell 5, but you've capped your combat rating for Hell 4. You don't want to really care about combat rating until you can get this massive boost to combat rating. So then you can focus on dungeons, you can focus on attributes and stuff like that, because the combat rating is not going to give you any benefit until you can get to the next tier difficulty anyway. And yes, you're probably going to want to like punch up to the next difficulty early if you can, but most people are not going to be able to do that. So like then it's going to be more about these right here, these magic affinities. So like having really good versions of these. Like imagine if you're trying to do damage in PvE, what would you rather want? Slow resistance by 6%, or let's say something with less combat rating, but I can increase the damage done by my summons by 10%. That's a massive damage increase. Who cares if this, for example, in this hypothetical situation, would have more combat rating? Because you've already capped out at the 22%. So that's just the concept I'm trying to apply here. And this is going to be incredibly important long term, because eventually we're going to just keep gaining combat rating, but we're done with difficulty. Unless they patch it into the future and they make a Hell 6, Hell 7, even still, this concept still applies even in the game that applies now, but it's really going to matter when we're at Hell 5 and we're done with gaining difficulty in the game in combat rating. So a 5025. And then the second we hit about 6000 combat rating, we're just done with combat rating. We don't care about it. It's not a stat that we really need to prioritize. It's going to be really nice to be able to not have to constantly worry about just getting these raw power stat checks and versus actually getting to look at the gear that we care about. Because this is the fun part in the game for me, is not only finding good set bonuses, but then also finding good magic attributes here that we can really double down on and make a build out of this. Yeah, yes, the set bonuses is going to be the main thing, but then the legendaries here too. We're finding good versions of these where we don't have to constantly worry about our combat rating. So, and that's really the exciting thing about this, is just kind of realizing that there's hidden caps. I wouldn't say hidden caps. It's just combat rating is a threshold. And then eventually when you clear that threshold for a certain period of time, you don't have to worry about it. And so now another cap that the game arbitrarily sets that is really going to improve your damage is going to be armor penetration. And here, let's look at where you can expect to get the most points when it comes to this. This is going to be something that is probably going to take quite a bit, but there's a lot of ways to get it. Like, for example, you can actually farm the gems here in this game to get more armor penetration. You can also farm Legacy of Horderim, so you can improve these, and then a lot of these actually give you more. For example, let me find one. So you see how this gives you 117. Yeah, this is level 13. Most people are free to play, not going to get there that quickly, but this is something that you can daily farm and actually improve, which is great. Then what happens, let's actually look at exactly how much of a benefit you'll gain from this though. So it's going to give you actual crit damage, which is awesome. It's one of the best things you can possibly get on your gear here. Like I got it on, I try to get it as many of my forced ones as possible on the Reforged system. But when it comes to actually exceeding the arbitrary cap that they set for armor penetration, this one is for health 2, so ignores some enemy armor and increases critical hit damage. So that's exactly what the purpose of armor penetration is. So see at the bottom here, where being 303 points higher than the arbitrary cap, I'm doing 47% more critical hit damage. Then if I switch this back to health 3, look at the drop off I get here versus not being nearly as high. So right now I am at still the same number, but I'm only 140 points higher, and that's 38%. So you really don't need to be that much higher than the cap to get most of the benefits. Because if I go to Hell 1, like, so I was at 40, so I'm at 38% now, and then in Hell 2, I'm at 47% more. But if I go to Hell 1, I'm only at 49%. You get massive diminishing returns for armor penetration when you really get close, or when you get way higher than the cap. So like 100 points higher than whatever cap you're in is more than enough to get you a ton of percentage of damage there. And then if you really want to push it, then you'll get a ton more, but it takes so many more points to be able to get to 50% critical hit damage increase. I think that is something else to keep in mind. And you're always going to want to just take raw damage versus, unless it's like maybe if you're like right at 0, then you put in a couple points of armor penetration, it gives you a ton of critical hit damage. Then maybe pretty much 99 times out of 100, anytime you can take more damage, you're going to take more damage over armor pen. So like, for example, these Tourmalines are always going to be the better value than armor pen, unless maybe in that one very, very rare situation to get rid of the cap, because I bet each point is so valuable right when you go from right at the cap versus being just over the cap. But that's just my theory there. I can't really confirm that. That's pretty much it. 2 arbitrary caps there that eventually you can essentially stop worrying about combat rating after a certain point. And then also armor penetration really falls off a cliff after a certain point as well. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Be sure to like the video if you found this helpful. Also subscribe to the channel if you want more Diablo Immortal content.